Bear tried to keep calm, but the more he searched, the more messy webs he found. "Ursa, we have a spider problem," said Bear. "I am sure the spider is covering our home with more sticky webs. I am sure the spider is making a giant mess with its many legs. Look, he's knitting and he's painting. He's a clever spider." "I am certainly sure the spider is nothing like us," said Bear. "Ursa, we must find this messy guest."
Meet André and the voice of his mother. André is just 7 months old, and we can already see that he is beginning to accumulate some tools in his invisible toolbox. Today, we're going to take a look at what some of those tools are that we can already see beginning to blossom, and take a look at some of the tips that we can pick up from the way that is being read to.
Bear and Ursa searched high and low. They searched inside and out, but they did not find any spiders.
What we see here in this video is a 7-month-old baby who is deeply immersed in a story. So immersed that his attention, his eye contact barely wavers throughout the entire reading of the book. He's so involved that he's physically involved. He's turning the pages himself. He already has a sense of the rhythm of the story, knowing when to turn the pages. When the story reaches its climax, when the stuffed animal Ursa is found and rescued and Bear and Spider become friends, there's an excitement that you can see in André as he reaches out and touches the pages. It's almost as if he wants to touch Bear and touch Spider, who've now become reconciled and are friends. So you can see, if you look really closely, that there is a lot going on here internally for André. And it all seems to be quite precocious for a 7-month-old child. And it is remarkable, but it's really what happens when a child has been read to from the beginning. So I would wager that André has been read to from the very start.
"The spider's extra sneaky, but it cannot hide from us," said Bear. He sprang up to continue the search when something terrible happened. "Look, that's Ursa. And Ursa got stuck under the couch." Bear lay there for some time. "My poor friend, I sure never meant to make such a mess." "Look, the spider's watching." "Oh, okay, we'll turn the page." Once again, Bear searched high and low. He searched inside and out. He had to find a way to help his friend. When Bear returned, he could not believe what he saw. His dear Ursa was good as new. Yes, Ursa, good as new from the spider. There among the books, Bear found something he never expected. He did not mind the spider's sticky webs. He did not mind the spider's many legs. Yeah, that's Bear. And that's Spider. Let's see what happens next.
I wrote the Invisible Toolbox as a parent, but also as an elementary school teacher who could see that the children who came to school, having been read to, had the pre-literacy tools that they needed in order to be motivated to read and to be successful. I can see that André is already blossoming into 3 of those tools. Learning to read is not necessarily an easy process. There's nothing intuitive about it. So one of the most important things that a child can come to school with is the motivation to learn to read. And this comes about when a child has been read to, because they will already understand that there's something in books for them, something that's appealing. I call this tool the attraction to books. We can see in this video that André already has this. He knows that there is something in this story. We can see that by his ability to sit and listen to the story, even at the age of 7 months. And so, this pleasurable experience of sitting and cuddling up with mom and dad with a book, looking at the colorful pictures, beginning to cognitively understand a simple story, result in the next tool that's a very important tool, and that is the ability to pay attention. We see that in André in spades. As a 7-month-old, it may seem quite remarkable to us to see a baby who can sit and listen from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. What we know from observing André is that this is not his first time being read to. This is something that he has experienced again and again. And what has happened is that he has unconsciously learned something, and that is the ability to pay attention, something that doesn't necessarily come about naturally. I see this as a teacher in school that not every student has this ability. But what I have noticed is that children who've been read to sort of innately know how to do this. It hasn't been something that they've had to willingly learn. It's something that comes about naturally when a child has been read to. And we see this very clearly here in this video. One of the most striking tools that I see here is an intuitive understanding of how books work. Children who come to school who have not been read to really have no clue how books work and how stories are formed. But I can see here that André already does. He understands that books are read from the front to the back. He already has an intuitive understanding of the rhythm of a story. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every story has a problem and a solution. And if you watch him very, very closely, you can see that on some intuitive level, precognitively, but somehow viscerally, he is registering these things. I noticed that the one time André looked away from the book was at a crucial problem in the story. Bear had lost his little stuffed animal friend, Ursa. Remember, Ursa was trapped under a piece of furniture. This is the one time that I noticed that André looked away. He looked under his bed. And I got to wondering, I wonder if he was thinking about maybe one of his own stuffed animal friends and looking to see if his animal friend was trapped. Who knows? But that's the one time that I saw any sort of break or any little look of anxiety in his face. And it was really in the most anxious part of the story because Bear had lost his friend. And then, as I mentioned before, when the story resolves, when Bear and Spider become friends, Andre's excitement, his energy level changes, and he actually reaches into the story wanting to touch these two characters, almost wanting to give them hugs. So he is already developing an intuitive sense of how stories work. And children who have been read to will come to school with this. And it's a very important tool to have in learning to read.
Yeah, that's Bear. He's looking at the spider. They're becoming friends. Sweet Bear. I certainly do not mind sharing my home with one more friend. And that was something Bear could be sure of. And there they are. Best friends. The end. Good job, Andreas.
At just 7 months of age, we can already see 3 important tools that are blossoming in André's Invisible Toolbox. The curiosity for and attraction to books, the ability to pay attention, and an intuitive understanding of how books and stories work. Believe me, more tools are percolating under the surface and will blossom as he grows and as his parents continue reading to him. In Dear Parents Part 4, we'll have a look at some tips that we may be able to use in reading aloud to our children. Taking a look at the way André's mom is doing it, I think we can learn a lot from her. But don't despair if you're late to the game in reading to your child, or you've got an active child who simply will not sit still. There is help and hope for you and your child too. In the meantime, check out theinvisibletoolbox.org or my book, The Invisible Toolbox, The Power of Reading to Your Child from Birth to Adolescence, for more tools and tips on how to develop a love of reading with your child.